state of, she switched it off. She tried to call around to see if people were okay, but the landline was out. Contrary to the radio's bleak assertions, however, her cell phone was working. Reggie had left a voicemail. He wanted to make sure she was all right. He was busy, he said, and he'd try her later in the day when he could afford a minute to talk. She tried him back. All circuits were busy. Going back to bed was out of the question. Once woken, she couldn't convince her body that it had been given a second chance. She was about to run a bath when Carl's note popped into her head. Take care of things when I'm gone. The figurines. She had a banana, put on some clothes, and set out for the office. A few people were out on the curb in bathrobes and slippers, smoking and twiddling dials on transistors. A man clutching a guitar sat shirtless in striped pajama bottoms atop the hood of his Volkswagen. He wore a necklace of wooden beads and was entertaining his girlfriend with a throaty rendition of a tune Gloria remembered as popular 6 months ago. As she passed, they gave her looks like, "What the hell are you doing dressed?" She waved and continued on her merry way through pre-dawn post-disaster. She had never walked the 2.5 miles between her home and work. She passed from commercial zone to residential and back again, moving through alternating pockets of hysteria and catatonia. Near the Beverly Center, the alarms of several dozen retailers caterwauled in unison. Dopplerized arias flared up and flamed out as emergency vehicles raced down Wilshire in search of hydrants turned geysers and electrical fires. She enjoyed this view from the ground, playing that rarest of roles, a pedestrian in L.A. She decided to take a detour and look in on Barb. The Oberleys lived on Camden and South Beverly Hills, in a pristine 2-level Spanish with lacquered tile lining the front walk. Gloria was always struck by the evenness of the lawn. It was as though each blade of grass had been individually selected for freshness. Kenny Oberly sold luxury cars, and there was often something new and roundish in the driveway. This month it was an Infiniti, in the champagne color he favored. He was nothing if not consistent, Gloria thought. The attitude was catching. Since marrying him, Barb, too, had become a creature of habit, albeit one who could laugh at herself. "Next time we're going to go hog wild," she'd say. "Gray." Nobody answered the front door, so Gloria let herself in the side gate and trod lightly across the back porch. A trapezoid of artificially weathered brick. She tapped a nail against the kitchen window and heard something clatter inside, muttering, "Jesus." A queasy-looking Barb pulled aside the back door's little curtain, mouthed, "Gloria?" and disappeared behind the snap of fabric as she turned the deadbolt. Gloria checked her watch guiltily. It was 4:45 in the morning. She hadn't realized. She felt so alert that it could have been Saturday noon, time to start shopping or have a sandwich. The first thing Barb said was, "Why are you here?" "Are you okay?" "We're fine. Amanda's in bed with Kenny. Jason's picking up the books in his room." "What are you doing here, Gloria?" "I couldn't sleep." Barb goggled at her, then began to laugh. "Okay." Gloria had to smile. It was absurd. "My apartment's totally dark," she said. "I wanted to get out of the house." "Well," Barb said, "come on in. We're having a party." They sat at the kitchen table. Candles and used spoons, as though Barb had just held a seance. "I can give you lukewarm coffee or dry cereal. Your choice." "No, thanks." Gloria's visions of her domestic future rarely resembled the Oberly household, whose only apparent source of friction was an overdeveloped sense of irony that Barb and Kenny shared, and had somehow made heritable. At age 5, Jason had told Gloria, "You look good for your age." Gloria admired their daily seamlessness. Everything ran like a German appliance. But since she had never lived in such a family, she had a hard time imagining herself in one like it. Not that she wanted to reproduce what she'd grown up with. She was sure her family-to-be would strike a middle chord, not quite so blistered as her past, but not quite so normal as this. "Actually," Gloria said, "I'm on my way to the office." "Honey." Barb sat down across from her and took her hand as though she was about to explain how babies were made. "There's no work today. We just had an earthquake." "I know." And even if there hadn't been an earthquake, you couldn't go to work because it's 5 in the morning. I know, Barb. And even if it was time for work, aren't you on vacation this week? I'm going in to make sure everything's okay. Carl's figurines... Barb's smirk sufficed to reply. He loves them, Gloria said. If they're broken... And look, the place is probably a disaster. That's what happens during a natural disaster. Things look like a disaster. I've got nothing better to do, Gloria said. Barb shrugged. You should be the president. Of the company? Of the United States. There's nobody else in the city going to work right now. We could use that sort of dedication in our elected leadership. It's important. To Carl. I bet. Gloria supposed Barb's intentions were good. She was helping a friend move on, or however Red Book would describe it. It drove Gloria nuts. There was nothing to be gotten over. There was possibility, and possibility was to be embraced. He's in Mexico, Gloria said. Safer there than here. Barb went over to the fridge and began replacing all its dislodged magnets. He went alone? Yes. You didn't want to tag along? You're in some mood, Gloria said. Barb straightened up, holding a report card. Well, it is 5 a.m. after a tremor, but you're right. I'm harassing you. Please don't. They both turned toward the sound of flip-flops. Mom? Oh, hey. Jason didn't seem at all fazed to see Gloria. In the candlelight, she could see smudges on his glasses. He was wearing briefs and nothing else. His chest was slightly sunken, a gift from Kenny's side of the family. Exposed, he looked younger than his 9 years. Dressed, he had an air of tweedy assurance that gave Gloria the impression he was about to go up for tenure. The lamp broke, he told Barb. Which one? In the office. I told you not to go in the office, Jason. There might be glass. There is, he said patiently. The lamp broke. Barb flashed Gloria a look. See? Close the door and don't go back in there. Put your shoes on. Go finish cleaning your room. It's done. Can I play PlayStation? The power's out. Can I try? Barb nodded, and Jason exited, scratching his shoulder as he left. He's half asleep, Gloria said. Yes. Barb looked at her and said gently, About Carl? I didn't mean to. It's strange, that's all. You're going over to the man's office like you're his... She didn't finish. Gloria wanted to supply. Wife? Slave? This is the 90s, after all, Barb said. No, it isn't. I know, but it's easier than saying the OOs, and... Barb sighed. I wish it was still the 90s. I don't see what that has to do with my going over to the office. You can get a date. You don't have to run around like his... he's old enough to be... Barb. Go online, or... Kenny's got friends. I'm leaving now. Barb escorted her through the backyard. They could hear sirens and helicopters, but everything else, everything organic, had run for cover. There were no crickets, no birds, no rustling leaves. A floodlight at the side of the house came on. Its cold rays stood Gloria's hair on end. Don't go in if the building looks unsafe, said Barb. I'll call you soon, Gloria said. As the gate closed behind her, she felt cut adrift, alone in the dizzy dance of a city staggering to right itself. For a moment she considered going home. The office could wait. The night was sinister and humid with God knew what mayhem. Looters? Prowling gangs of rapists? Silly, she thought. It wasn't after the bomb. It was early morning shell shock. And the prospect of going home depressed her. There wasn't anyone waiting for her. No son asking childish questions, no husband shushing a frightened girl in the other room. At least at work she could surround herself with tasks. Along Charlieville she could hear the creak of her sneakers. At Lapeer, Olympic Boulevard was deserted for miles in either direction. She laughed, realizing that she was waiting for the signal to cross. Nasty cracks in the exterior stucco made her hesitant to enter the complex where Caper Co. kept 2 rooms. She strolled around the perimeter of the building, observing broken windows on the 3rd floor directly above their suite. The parking overhang had shed berry-sized chunks of plaster. Otherwise, it looked okay.